Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Wannabes podcast. We're actually starting to look a little bit more professional here. It looks good. I am Luke Walters, and to my right...
Yes, I am to your right,
yeah.
Not your left. I am Morgan Holsworth.
Camera left. And today we are continuing Spider-Man. Today we are going to do Spider-Man 2, and God, I'm so excited.
You're always excited when it comes to Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, but this is the best superhero movie ever made. Bite me. I'm going to try not to yell because the mic's actually so close to my fucking face, but it's going to happen. Yeah, no, this is the best superhero movie ever made. I don't care what anybody has to say, and we'll get into it. But as always, we need to start with production. So.
Yes. Do you want me to start with box office? Before you get into the juicy stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, first things first. Spider-Man 2 was released both in traditional and IMAX theaters on June 30th, back in 2004.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't know it was in IMAX, did you?
No, the first movie that I know that I paid attention to as far as IMAX was fucking The Dark Knight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then the first movie that I think I actually saw in IMAX was probably Avatar.
I was going to say, I know it. Probably my first was Avatar in IMAX, but...
I don't want to talk about it.
So, to a widespread critical acclaim...
Fuck yeah.
It grossed $789 million worldwide, becoming the third highest grossing film of the year of 2004.
What did it make domestically?
Let me see. It may not tell me. It doesn't tell me, actually. Usually it tells me domestic, but if you'd like, I could research it real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Sure.
While you're doing that, I'll just talk about what production. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I just know that this film actually had kind of a rocky start because we almost didn't have Toby Maguire reprise his role as Spider-Man. He suffered a pretty significant back injury making Seabiscuit of all movies, and because he fell off the fucking horse.
Yes.
And he almost backed out as Spider-Man. No, he was almost recast because he was using that as a negotiating thing, and Sony decided, we don't think you're actually as injured as you're claiming, and we're not going to pay you all this extra money, so fuck you, we're going to recast you. We almost got Jake Gyllenhaal as Peter Parker in Spider-Man.
See, personally, I find that really intriguing, just because, Toby always seems like such a kind of timid, maybe? He kind of, I don't know, I don't feel too much off of the screen, but yeah. He seems pretty, I don't know, just timid, just I don't know.
I don't know for sure. I'd have to look into it some more. But there's a couple things online that you could find of him being pretty a jerk. He's kind of an asshole.
Spider-Man went to his head.
No, not Spider-Man. It's actually, the thing is he's actually, I'm pretty sure he's best friends with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Really?
They came up together as child actors and shit.
Explains the casting of Great Gatsby.
Exactly. And
which actually I really like Toby in.
I need to finish that movie.
I like Toby and Leonardo in The Great Gatsby, but I hate The Great Gatsby. Yeah,
that seems to be the consensus of the movie. Get ready for the review of The Great Gatsby sometime in the future.
Oh, I will rip it apart.
But yeah, so he actually, he's like an actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of those. And Spider-Man for him, I think, especially when he got the role, was want to do Spider-Man, you're fucking, one of those. And now it's making money, so it's oh, okay, I like it now, and I want that money, and my back's broken. So yeah, he almost got recast as Jake Gyllenhaal.
Was it legitimately broken, or
I don't know. He had a back injury. I just don't
know if it was broken.
Yeah, I don't know how serious it was. So Sony thought he was trying to use that to get more money out of him, and they decided, well, fuck you, we'll recast you. And it got pretty fucking close to it being Jake Gyllenhaal. And then I think once the news broke that, it's going to be Jake, Toby was like, my man's better. I'll be Spider-Man. And then he fucking put the mask back on. So it worked out.
You know,
I'm glad he did it.
I can and I can't picture Jake.
Well, you don't have to, because if you look it up, there's photoshopped images of Jake in the suit, and
sure,
and it looks pretty legit.
I just mean him as an actor more so than like him in physicality.
Oh, he'd have had no problem doing it. Jake.
No, he wouldn't have had any issues, but it's just kind of like it's so ingrained as Toby now.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh man, that'd be so weird.
Well, yeah. If they were gonna do it, then please do it that early in 2004 by movie 2, because now, like, no fucking way. Right. But at that point, probably. Anyway, what else you got? You got any other production notes?
So I do know that you asked about the domestic gross, just because I do have it up. Pop back real quick.
Yep.
Domestically, so that means for anyone who doesn't know, like U.S., it made $373.6 million in the United States and Canada. So, and then worldwide was the $789 million.
Yeah.
Which back then was great.
Yeah, no.
Nowadays we blow that shit.
Yeah, this ain't Avengers numbers for sure, but I mean, it opened up at number 1 at the time.
Yeah, and it was as I said earlier, the 3rd highest for the entire year.
Yeah.
So.
What were 1 and 2?
God, does it tell me? I want to know. Let's see. I'm going to Google it.
While you're doing that, I'll just kind of get into it. We can jump around a little bit. It's so early on talking about production and shit, but this movie starting out, like, the opening's fantastic. I love the art that they use. For the fucking intro.
I said to Dan,
I love that intro.
Like, man, this intro is really long, which I didn't mind. Like, Dan and I were talking about, it's like it's giving a recap, kind of like the first movie.
Yeah, previously.
Yeah. I really liked it. The art, like you said, looked awesome.
Yeah, that art. There's a famous painting, and I think it's done by Andy Warhol. Okay. That you can find where it's Spider-Man and Stan Lee staring each other down. Nice. And it looks like that art style. It's great. It's pretty realistic. I like it.
According to just like what comes up on Google, it's number 2.
Okay.
But so going off of what Google says from this box office website, number 1 was Shrek 2.
Okay.
Number 2 was Spider-Man 2.
Uh-huh.
Number 3 was The Passion of the Christ. And number 4 was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay, so I'm going to assume then that based on other sites, like you can flip 2 and 3 to the Spider-Man Passion. Because Passion fucked.
Yeah, but and it could either be Passion or Harry Potter too.
I'm not covering Passion. That's fine. Never ever.
No.
We're not touching that.
That honestly is completely fine.
No, fuck that. Because nobody's gonna like what I have to say. So no, never do a Passion. Okay, yeah. Any other big production notes that you see? I love that image right there has to come up because I'm going to talk about it. Yeah? Yeah, we have to put that up. It's very important.
That's true. It is a very important, and we'll get there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let me see. Do I have anything additional for production?
Other than and I'll talk. I guess I can just. No, I'll wait. Like, I have things about the filmmaking, but I'll bring them up as they come up.
So an interesting thing, it's just like a little fun fact, is that Spider-Man 2 was shot on over 100 different sets and locations. Yeah, New York, Chicago, LA. They had stuff in LA. It's just kind of like sure, major motion pictures have a lot of sets. Yeah. But that's a huge number. Yeah, well, the train sequence at the end of the movie, that's Chicago, it's not New York. Right. So there was a camera system called the Spider Cam that was basically created and used to allow the filmmakers to express more of like Spider-Man's worldview from like when he's swinging. And another thing that we mentioned in the last review for the first one was that this the swinging through the city looks awesome, and it still does. It looks even better in this one. Yes, it does. It looks so good, and this is 16 years later, it still looks really good. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I don't need to go beat for beat in this movie because we'll cover everything anyway. But like every time Spider-Man is on the screen in CGI, he looks so good. He looks awesome. Yeah. One thing. There's issues with everybody else, but Spider-Man looks
fucking
Oh yeah,
phenomenal.
everyone else. That's in my notes for today.
But Spider-Man looks so good. My favorite CGI shot of him is him falling. It's him swinging, like, I won't get to it, but he's swinging, his webs don't work, and he's falling and he lands, and like, it's like really seamless to CGI to real actor. I love it so much.
Okay, so that was something I was going to bring up. It's towards the end, after the big battle, and, you know, he's sitting on one of the cranes watching Mary J. reunite with her man of the movie.
Jane. Not Jay.
Well, he calls her MJ.
Yeah.
That's why I screwed it up.
You're gonna...
Sorry, he found MJ.
Thank you.
And
this is important, damn it.
He was watching, and like he's kind of like in like one of his crouch kind of poses up there.
Well, that's him.
Yeah, that's him. He stands up and then he turns, and then it turns. You can tell.
Yeah.
But it was pretty smooth than what it could not have been.
Well, yeah. It's still better than the first one.
Yeah.
You can stop criticizing now.
It's way better than that like running roof scene. Oh my god. Oof.
Which there's another one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't CGI him for that. They just like green screen him. You know.
Thank God. It's much better.
We'll get to it. So what did you think of the performances?
Performances were good. So first things first, I really like Dr. Octagon.
What?
As a character, not as
Octo-
the Doc Ock. So
It's octopus.
I know.
Octagon.
I know. It's my mind is in so many places, a lot of them being on my ankle that I sprained.
Look, for the 20 people that fucking watch this video, first of all, thank you. Second of all,
I tell you,
it's all her. I know what the
Hold
fuck
on.
I'm talking about.
Hold on.
Clearly she doesn't, and she just got done watching this movie like a couple hours ago.
So the reason I screwed it up, there's actually a story here.
No.
Remember from school we had Jimmy, the rapper?
Yeah, I remember Jimmy.
So he was
Shout out to Jimmy.
He was doing a show with this guy named Dr. Octagon, and the entire night I was there doing photos with Fro, I was constantly like, man, I just can't help but think of like Spider-Man's like Doc Ock, you know, Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, we'll get the fucking name right.
So that's why, like, I just accidentally said it, because it's just kind of like, I was thinking of that too while I was watching the movie.
Now I'm even more upset but yet happy that I don't have a comic book that has Dr. Octopus on it, because then I'd be like, look, you fucking looked at this cover, it's right there, but I don't have one.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Alfred Molina, big fan.
Yeah, I like the guy.
He's fucking fantastic in this movie.
He's really good. One of the things is I like this villain a lot because he has like firstly, like comparing him to the Green Goblin, they're both super fucking intelligent.
Yeah.
But they're so different when it comes to their intelligence and also just like their mannerism and their emotions, and I like that he's kind of like a bad guy, but deep down, you know, he's a good guy.
Well, that's his whole arc.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah, that's his arc, is he is a genius that is trying to do good for mankind. He's not a business owner.
Yeah.
He's just a really smart guy that's trying to better the world. Shit goes south. He's still trying to better the world, but now he's the bad guy because of how he's going about it.
Yeah, and also he basically gets hacked by an AI.
Well, kind of.
Partially.
Those arms are fantastic, and this is what I was talking about. I thought I was going to talk about it later, but I'll talk about it now. Not every scene with those arms is CG. Those are not all CGI arms.
Correct.
They have puppeteers in green screen and blue suits operating those arms. And it's fantastic. Like the first scene where he has them and they rise up, he's got, dudes in skin suits operating those.
Absolutely.
It's awesome that there's practical arms.
One thing I really like about the whole concept of the design of the arms
His whole design is fantastic.
Yes. The one thing with the actual arms, however, is how, though they're not real, let's say.
Okay.
Like, not even, I'm trying to think of the best way to word it. So, that they're not like a living being. They're mechanical.
Yeah.
The way that they're able to play off, like, in a way, like, attitude and almost make them feel realistic and more creature-like.
Well,
I love that.
I get what you're saying. It's not like, say, Godzilla King of the Monsters, where Ghidorah has 3 heads with 3 different personalities.
Correct.
But you can tell because they do bring up, like, what do they say? If the AI is intelligent, as you say, doesn't that mean that you could be susceptible to that intelligence? And he goes, well, yeah, but I got the little chip thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the chip goes bye-bye, and then the AI takes over. So it's one personality, but yeah, you can see that the arms move on their own, and they have their own thoughts.
Well, not even necessarily that. It's just kind of like, it's even just like the movements and like how they like have them like sometimes slightly open, like their claws. And that seems so, it makes it feel very like creature-esque.
This is, okay, and then especially after the chip is gone,
and yes,
then you can see that they have their own personality. Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's just one thing, and like when it comes to the design point of like just doing like the movements within the CG and even the movements for the ones that were in the motion cap or in the green suits and everything.
Well, yeah,
like, it was just really
well. The
really
big thing
done.
about this universe is they put a lot of thought into grounding Spider-Man and the characters, so everything needs to feel like it could be, in the world. And yeah, those arms, I can see somebody having those arms.
Yeah,
they're fucking
those
awesome.
Arms are awesome, and it just is really interesting to see. This is going to be slightly off of this movie, but into the Spider-Verse, she's a woman.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to see the different way they portrayed it elsewhere, many years down the road.
Yeah, I'll wait until we cover Spider-Verse to get into it, right? Because, there's big differences between those characters, especially with screen time, but they handle it very well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah. What about Mary Jane?
So...
Because she's got a lot more to do in this movie.
She's got a lot more to do in this movie. She had another hard nipple scene. I'm happy I got you while you were drinking.
Whatever, you went there. I wasn't going to go there. It's not on me.
I'm just curious if there's another one in movie 3. So.
I don't think there is, but if there is, you'll notice it. Also, by the way, good thing you brought that up, because though that is why I couldn't see the first one, but this one is way darker and way more violent in my opinion.
However, the nipple
see it in the theater.
Like the nipple stuff, it's really quick. You almost don't notice it.
Well, whatever. But still, like it was enough to keep me from watching Spider-Man 1 in the theater, Dad. But I got to go see Spider-Man 2 in the theater with the same dad that wouldn't fucking let me watch the first one in theater. You prick. I'm glad it's in this time, because I had a rant on you in the first one that you couldn't see. By the way, I love you. I mean, I called you a prick, but I love you. It's what therapy's for. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Mary Jane. She has a lot to do. Normally
there's even more. Sorry, not to cut you off, but there's even more, because there is a Spider-Man 2.1 that has more scenes in it, gives her more to do. There's more character development.
Yeah.
This one runs a lot smoother, in my opinion.
Sure.
But because they're not completely necessary.
I've never actually seen 2.1.
Yeah, there's it's just some like extended shit. It's nothing.
Yeah, I figured
it's nothing serious, but they're good scenes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So one thing is typically in situations like this where she's like, they get like kind of pissy with the main character, I typically get annoyed with that like secondary character.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear like they scripted it really well, and they played it really well to allow me to be like, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I mean, sure, he's trying to be Spider-Man, but yeah, he's kind of being kind of garbage as a friend.
Well,
like, I get it.
That, excuse me, the scene with them at the fence again, early on in the movie, where she touches his face. And
that was so awkward.
I hated that scene.
I forgot about that scene, because I was thinking of later stuff. That scene, I hate.
Yeah, and it's funny how like really cheesy and just awkward that scene is, juxtaposed to them walking down later, where he's trying to get her back. Like, that scene's great. I fucking love that scene.
Yeah.
With just like an hour sooner. I just hate their interaction. It's so bad. Oh, and Mary Jane in this film pulls like a total G move at the end, but it's still like a hoe move, because she's kind of a hoe in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, big time.
Yeah.
But there's a character development, made it more interesting.
I feel like she could have said it sooner.
Well, I mean, she tried, but You know,
No.
Peter was being Peter.
Well, Peter. Okay.
Oh,
so,
you're talking about the marriage?
No. Oh, yeah. Yes. That. Yes. Both. So real quick, like he has her at the end when he saves her.
Yeah.
And he's like, finally admits that he's always been in love with her, even when he said he wasn't. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
He's like, but I can't let myself put you in danger. And then at the end, you get to see her just literally walking down the aisle. Music turns on for her husband to be. Totally ditches him at the altar.
Yeah, that's the G move.
Yeah.
And then she runs all the way across New York in that gown.
Yep. Goes to Peter and says, well, why should I let you make decisions for me? That should be my decision if I want to put myself in danger for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't you say that? I knew that scene was coming later, and I'm just sitting there watching the show, and I'm like, I wish she said it on the webs.
Yeah, but then you don't get the drama.
You don't get the drama.
And it is effective. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the way they did it, but I'm kind of like, the romantic in me was like,
well,
throw it there!
I've had this discussion with you before about, like, shows do it too, you know?
Sure,
where
absolutely.
Where, like, the writing is, they force characters to do things that are kind of out of character, and it's just to move the plot along, whereas if you still wrote the characters, you know, how they've been, naturally, how the character would handle said situation, you would still get to the same result without sacrificing your character looking stupid. And
honestly, her leaving the guy at the altar, totally within her character.
Well, and then
basically, you said she was a hoe in this movie. She was a big hoe in the first one.
Well, she still does in this one. And then there's a lot of, well, and I'll wait until we do 3, but there's a lot of things with those kind of actions that happen in this movie that have like no repercussions in the third one. But I'll wait until we get to the third one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got Harry Osborn. What do you think of him in this one?
Okay, so I've never been a fan of the character of Harry Osborn because he's a whiny little bitch.
I have to get you into the comics.
I'm sure I would like him better in the comics, but movie-wise, he's a little fucking bitch.
Well, it makes sense in this one because that's his character. He's the main guy now. He's pre Mark Zuckerberg.
When he finally finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, I'm happy. Obviously, he has the moment of, oh crap, how can I harm my best friend?
Correct. Even though he does it later in the movie.
Yeah. It's just part of me was like, I wish, and I understand, you know, everyone grieves differently, and I understand the darker take they took, but at the end of the movie, he literally sees behind the mirror the whole Green Goblin stuff, and I wish, like, it would have clicked for him. And sure, he still...
Like, sooner?
Not necessarily...
That, hey, my dad's the Green Goblin?
Yeah, that, because I know, obviously, the Green Goblin told Peter not to tell him.
Yeah.
But I just kind of, like, wish it clicked before he, like, when he was sitting there thinking, in a way, maybe, but...
Well, there's a lot of flawed logic in these films, because, I mean, at the end of the first one, Spider-Man takes Norman Osborn's lifeless body back to his house, and you know, Harry sees it, and then he gets ready to shoot him or whatever. But like, wouldn't you question why was my dad with Spider-Man? Like, what happened? Yeah. But it feels like he, as we move on, so Peter didn't tell him, but isn't there like investigation? Don't people want to know what the fuck happened to Norman and all sort of stuff? Like, you would think that there'd be a logical progression of steps here that would end up getting to Harry Osborn figuring out that, oh, my dad was Green Goblin, but no, that doesn't happen because comic books. But all that's out of the comics, like with Ghost Dad and shit. It's all that's all out of the comics. There's oh my god, it's one of my favorite storylines of Harry going insane because he keeps seeing Norman, and Norman is telling him, you need to kill Peter, and all that stuff. So it's wonderful. But it's stuff that I'll talk about when we do the next movie because it's more relevant. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he does at least get what he needs in the next one.
I love how he plays the character because, like I said, it's pre Mark Zuckerberg. He's just a young, rich douchebag, and he uses it to get Peter to talk to Doc Ock early on in the movie, because, Octavius is like, I'm literally trying to change the world, I don't have time to talk to this kid. And then Harry's like, yeah, you bitch, because I'm funding your whole operation. And then they get that nice dialogue scene.
Yeah.
But,
there's the whole, the segue, the foreshadowing, when you bottle up love, you'll get sick, and then immediately he starts having issues. You do?
The poetry scene, and then he's reading poetry.
Oh my god, the poetry scene, I was like, ugh. Yeah. And then when he goes to read poetry to MJ, I was like, please stop. Just as she was like, stop it.
He is a desperate man.
Yeah, he got real desperate right there.
Which, okay, so I'm going to, so everybody's been great in this movie so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any, extreme issues with anyone in particular. Yeah. I mean, what about you?
No, I love everybody in this movie. I don't like particular scenes, but everybody's still good.
For me, it's going to be, specific scenes, little things here and there. But
right.
As a whole, I really enjoyed the cast.
All right, so let's get to Peter then, because you just brought up... Basically, the theme of this movie is shit on Peter Parker. Which is a theme in the comics, too. There's plenty of writers that you can find interviews with them, and they go... Yeah, no, Peter isn't allowed to have a happy ending. He's not allowed to have the storybook ending or anything. So if they are given Spider-Man to start writing and he's in a good place in his life in the comics...
It's there to destroy it.
They just immediately just fuck it up. And they're right. That's Peter Parker. That's why we like him so much, is because he does get shit on and he still puts on the suit and everything else. But that is the theme of this movie, is him questioning, why am I still doing this? And it's because everything around him is falling apart. And Toby plays it fucking phenomenally.
He does it, dude. He does the hurt dog real good.
He really does. He really does. Say whatever you want about his Spider-Man, but it's whatever franchise you want to talk about. But his Peter Parker that's Peter Parker. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get to the other ones. But yeah, he's amazing in this movie, and he definitely carries the movie. And I care about everything that is happening to him. And then he has, the worst week of anybody's life that I've ever seen, and you brought it up, where they're at that dinner.
Yeah.
And, what happened before that, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
It's throughout the movie, he's having issues getting money, to pay rent, do all that.
Yes.
He constantly had, the guy yelling, where's your rent? He finds out that Aunt May is, going through bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
And then he finds out that Mary Jane's gonna get married, and then his fucking best friend slaps him in the face, and then his boss is like, hey, because Mary Jane's marrying his son.
Yeah, the astronaut who played football on the moon.
Yeah, and he still has to do his job. He's being forced to take pictures of the woman that he loves getting married to another guy. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's rough.
It's a very rough life.
I like the metaphor, though, of his powers not working because he has issues with his powers, and that's the whole point of not having web shooters for this franchise, is because now his organic web shooters aren't working, and it's all stress related. You're just super stressed, man.
I loved it when he was in the doctor's office, having dreams that I'm Spider-Man, and my powers aren't working, and he's like, oh, so you're Spider-Man? No, it just gave me a good chuckle.
Yeah, you like awkward shit. Yeah.
It's I think, I can't say it's my favorite scene, but the scene I probably laughed at the most.
It's not my favorite scene.
No. That is not my favorite. One of my favorite, just little chuckle moments was when, I'm blanking on his name. Shoot. What's his name from the Bugle?
J. Jonah?
Thank you. He gets the delivery of the suit that you wanted to talk about. That was, leading up to the whole. We had the issue at the dinner. Then he kind of just has this kind of awake sequence of talking to Ben.
Well, okay. So before you get into it, it's
because I don't want to talk about what I was about to talk about before we.
Right. So the first half of this movie is and I was clocking it too. It's 10 minutes of character.
Mm-hmm.
And then 10 minutes of an action of a set piece, and back and back and back. Then we get to what you're leading up to, because that whole first half in between all that is, Peter thinking well, why do I keep doing this? Because my life is going to hell, and I'm Peter Parker, who lives in hell life too. So after that discussion with the doctor, he goes and he decides, I'm not going to be Spider-Man anymore. And he has that awesome scene with Ben. And this is why Uncle Ben is so fucking important to Spider-Man. And he tells Uncle Ben, I'm not going to do it anymore because I, Peter Parker, want to have a life. And then we have this sweet, sweet scene of him putting the fucking suit in the trash can, and he walks away, and that is ripped straight from issue 50, which was at that time Stan Lee's last issue that he was doing, and it's called Spider-Man No More, and I love it so much.
Nerd.
Yeah, oh yeah. This is why you have me on this show.
That's fine. I nerd out on other things that you.
Oh my god, it's the best.
It's a great moment, and then leading up to what I was getting at was a garbage man. I think it was a garbage man.
Yeah, it's a garbage man.
Finds the suit and takes it to the Bugle for money. Also, $100.
$100?
It's still really fucking cheap for that.
Yeah, he goes, I could get more, because he offers him $50 first. He goes, I can get more on eBay. You're damn right you could have got more on eBay.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'll give you $100. Go give him his check and get him out of here. Give him like a bar of soap. And he's like, just takes it, and I'm like, bruh. No.
One thing that made me laugh about that scene is when he pulls out the suit, like either that suit's really stretchy or they just were like, here, we're just gonna throw this thing together, because it looked like a fucking 5-year-old.
It has to be super stretchy, because the mask was, like, when he didn't have his mask on later in the train, the mask was the same, like, super scrunched up.
Yeah.
But...
I guess it's really stretchy, because when I looked at it, I was like, who would fit in that?
I love that scene because he's like, oh my gosh, the power of the press has, like, made him stop. Yes, he's super happy. And then you see later a cut to where they're, like, I'm blanking on the black gentleman's name who, like, does, like...
Robbie Robertson, which is very important to the story, too, because he's the only one that sticks up for Spider-Man in that universe. Yeah,
like, especially in the Bugle, like, you can tell whenever he, like, shits on him, he's always has a face of, like, come on.
Yeah.
Don't, like...
Oh yeah, this will make you laugh because it's in the extended version of the film. There's a scene of J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah playing around in his office with the suit on. He puts it on and jumps around.
I need to see it. I will find it.
Yeah, we'll throw it up.
Oh my god,
it's great. They cut that out because the idea for them was like they wanted like a out of shape J. Jonah jumping around in this suit, and J.K. at that time was in pretty good shape. He's in fucking phenomenal shape now. For anybody that doesn't know, he's like in his 60s, maybe 70s. Anyway, and he's just jumping around with the suit on. It's great.
I love it. But yeah, I love the scene where like it cuts a little bit later to where I love that, and then you get the fact of later because his son is engaged to Mary. Mary Jane. My bad. I'm being like extra cautious, and now it's fucking me up.
I just want to wrap up this video so I don't have to hear you butcher this anymore.
So, I love the fact where he's like, kind of like, I wish I didn't push Spider-Man away, basically, and he had like this solemn moment of like, no one has found MJ yet.
Okay.
And
I want to get into the action, but see, the best thing about those scenes is the dude that keeps popping up out of the corner. I think his name's Hoffman in the movie.
Something like that.
That's Sam Raimi's brother. Who he throws in all
really?
of his movies, and those three, their scenes in every one of these films are the funniest fucking scenes because Hoffman just constantly just pops up out of nowhere at like the right time. It's fucking brilliant. Yeah. Every time. I love it.
But no, I just love the whole, like, it's my fault.
Because he's the one that goes, he's the only one that could stop Octavius. And Jake was like, I was about to fucking say that.
Yeah, he was like, saying this kind of like, he's like, basically like, kind of like, crap, I got rid of Spider-Man. Yeah. He used it like what his tabloids and everything he put out. Right. Is what caused him to stop. And he's like, oh my gosh, we can't find her because I did this. And then all of a sudden, he pops in, steals the suit, leaves a note, and he's like, Gah! Like, gets super angry.
Goes right back to being J. Jonah.
Yeah, it was so great.
So now, the action stuff. I want to know what you thought about the action sequences, because, I'm going to nerd out on them. But it's really, I'm going to stick to the bank scene and the train scene, because that train scene is really long. It encompasses, like, it starts at a point, and then you know where it ends.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of them?
So, firstly, they're fucking great.
Oh, thank you.
They're so good. I don't work in a bank, but I want to know what bank has that many what looks like gold coins.
Okay, I'm going to continue.
Put that aside.
I'm going to continue to bring this up, especially as we get later in these movies, because my favorite part about the villains in these films in particular, with the exception of the Green Goblin, they don't have a direct connection to Peter Parker.
Sure. They
are villains that are created, and then they might end up having a connection with Peter, but like it's not something that's forced.
Right.
It's forced a little bit in the third one, but this one in particular, it's not forced. They end up having an organic relationship because they're both like really smart.
Yeah, well, Harry introduces them, and then they
but it's
right
not
in front
like,
of each other geek out, and he's like, "Oh, this kid is smart."
Right, but it's not like oh, you know, you are shit. I will formulate this stuff when we get to it.
Sure. So one thing,
you know what I mean, though.
I do.
You get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
All right.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, because I was curious, what was your thoughts of like the whole murder scene in the operation room?
Oh my god, that's my second favorite scene in this whole movie. And it's got Evil Dead references in it too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I think it's so good, and
I wish it was a little more gory, but because of the rating, I know why it's
2004,
not.
it's PG-13. Now, if he did it, oh yeah, fuck yeah, blood everywhere.
Because let's be realistic, those arms, the blood would have been spraying.
Hell yeah, man. It's actually titled on the DVD Horror Hospital. That chapter.
Yeah,
it's great.
That doesn't surprise me.
It's awesome because Sam Raimi is a horror director first and foremost, so he's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna.
Yes, I did see when you get the big view of him like getting up from the table in the very far back, the furthest body you can only see their hand. It moves, then it stops, then it moves again. Doesn't move for the rest of that scene. And I don't know if like they wanted the body to look like it was twitching, or if it was just an accidental fuck up for that person in the back.
You know what? Just for the sake of being more awesome, I'm gonna go with he was told to twitch.
That's what I'm hoping.
Twitch.
Yeah. So let's get into, like because we were on the,
Actually, I didn't even think about that one as an action set piece, but yeah, that's another one, but, I'm gonna keep sticking to the bank scene.
We'll go back to the bank scene for sure. The bank scene, it's not like in the bank. I love, firstly, just like, I'm blanking on his name, the guy from Community who is like the lender guy.
Joe McHale.
Thank you. How like, a coin rolls to him, he's like, let me take it. She's like, fuck no.
Yeah, Ame slaps his hand. Ame beats the shit out of that guy because she kicks him too. And then when that scene ends, he gets up and he's limping away because she kicked him so hard.
So great.
Oh, she fucks up Joe McHale. I love it.
So I love that sequence.
Yes.
A lot.
You should.
I did notice another kind of like how the whole hand movement. I noticed something also during that whole scene. Well, it wasn't in the bank specifically, but when they're going up the building and he has Aunt May, and Aunt May's holding on for dear life with her umbrella, he gets thrown into what looks like a textile working area / maybe sweatshop thing.
Yeah.
There's a woman who's like coming over to like look at him, but he has the webs he's pulling back basically to slingshot himself out.
Yes.
During that, there's a cart directly behind him, and it's moving, but no one is there to move the cart. And so, and he's not close enough in terms of like scale to be the one pushing it back as he moves back.
Okay.
And so I kind of like, I'm curious if they had like some, like a, maybe like a cord or something like where they were pulling it just for like the movement effect or not. Well, no, that would have been on CG.
So, no, I don't know. I'd have to look at it because I have no idea what you're talking about. I'll have to take a peek at it.
Just like when he gets thrown into that window and then he has to slingshot himself out, there was like some like weird, like when it comes to scaling and everything, like movement of pieces in the back that didn't make sense. It was just basically like a floating, moving object. So, yeah.
Somebody take a look at that.
Yeah, we'll pop it up.
They beat the shit out of each other in these films.
Yes, they do.
They go hard.
Hardcore.
I loved it. I mean, it surprised me. I forgot that like, cause, you know, a lot of fight scenes now that are like really pretty and stuff. I mean, they're cool. But
they can get some
not,
bruises, some cuts, some little stuff, but
they don't
like,
really get bruises in this film, but they fucking beat the
they
shit
get some.
out of
They
each
even get
other.
some like he has some cuts through his.
Well, yeah,
stomach.
later on, but I mean the violence overall is kind of toned down. It's a lot of implied shit.
Sure,
But,
definitely.
But like I mean, they do show violence, but not as much as they do now in these films.
They go hard.
But
plus,
they do. They
plus,
beat
also you have
each other.
like the strongest baseball bat ever with those arms, so he just like slams him across how like yards.
Yeah.
He gets beat.
Well, what does he do? Because they're fighting on the side of the building, which is I'm glad it's New York. Otherwise, I've been like, come on, that building's not that big. Because they
Right.
fall for a while, but he grabs Spider-Man, throws him into a window, and then throws him across the way where he goes in that sweatshop looking thing. Which is funny that they got a fucking sweatshop thing. But yeah, like, hold on, that's fucking vicious, man.
It was like gnarly.
Yep.
And then also like you have at one point it might have been this no it was later when the car gets thrown in. No, it wasn't. I think it was that scene. My apologies. Where we had the hands of the huge ass clock.
That's the second one. That's the train.
Oh, was it the train?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first fight has Stan Lee cameo.
It does. He's grabbing the woman and pulling her from the falling
saving lives.
Yep. And I was like, it was for much. I'm like, what? That's Stan Lee?
Yeah. When he could still function really well too.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a little thinner back then.
R.I.P. Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Alright, so but the second fight scene, which is my favorite scene, because when he's
I
swinging
love the
and it
train
goes
scene.
into the sunglasses, oh, that shot's great.
That shot is awesome.
And then they beat the shit out of each other on that clock tower.
Yeah. So the clock tower, like another thing, he like there's a hand that's like this. I mean, that hand's huge for that clock tower.
Oh yeah, and he rips
and
it.
it's falling, and he grabs it, and he throws it back. Like Spider-Man throws it back up.
Yeah.
He just rips it and he goes boom. Like that's if those were to actually hit, well, would have been bad.
Well, good thing he has spider sense and everything
Very
else,
good.
which is still done very, very well in this movie.
Yeah, it's like specifically for those, they're falling, so he's able to like kind of like dodge and use his feet to kick off of them to keep going. Like it was really well done.
Yeah, the train is pretty intense too when Ock is throwing the bystanders.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't know where else to go with this.
I really like. So one thing I wanted to get into for
I already said it was awesome. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the train scene is my favorite, especially for like what you get in the ending. You basically get so the train he makes it go as fast as it can and just breaks it where you can't stop it.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man is trying to figure out how to stop this train because the track isn't finished. It has an end, and they're going too fast. They're just going to blow over it. So he's trying to a couple different ways to stop it, and the fucking train conductor's just giving him shit.
Yeah, he tries to stop it with his foot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And he asks him if he has any more bright ideas. I'm like, motherfucker.
He's giving him some smack talk.
Dude is trying to save your life, and they're gonna shit talk the fucking superhero.
Yeah, it's like
okay.
when he broke it off though, he got shocked on his face, which caused him to take off the mask. So this entire like second half of the scene, he's without a mask, and everyone sees who he is. And the like one thing that you and I really loved in the first movie was the bridge scene, how all the people started throwing shit at Green Goblin.
Yes.
That happens again, except they're all standing in his way. Like, if you want to get to Spider-Man, you have to get through us.
Yeah.
And that's just really, it's just touching and really nice.
It's more of that, get everybody together type of thing.
Yeah,
I
hate
like,
it. We're New York.
I hate it now, but it was awesome at the time, and I understand why they did it. They do it again in the third one.
It's just a nice thing to see. Everyone's there for Spider-Man.
They have a nice Jesus moment for Spider-Man too when they're carrying him across. And okay.
That was
Alright.
so cheesy.
Yeah. All right. We can start to wrap this up,
Sure.
I suppose. So the whole theme of the movie. What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it because it showed the most struggle. Like, this had more struggle, internal struggle especially, for Peter than the first one did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was played off very well, both from the actors and from just the style of how it was filmed, how it was written, even the lighting to set the mood, the sound effects, all that sort of thing just helped amplify that feel of his struggle, and I think they crafted it very well.
Oh man, even for the CGI stuff, I felt like watching some of the special features after I watched the movie, and
because you had them.
Right, and it shows, particularly the ending scene where Ak is going, when Ak dies in the end. Spoilers. They showed like all the layers and the shit that they had to do that, and they really made it seem super time consuming. Mm-hmm. But again, it's 2004. I'm sure they could do that in like 10 minutes now, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm over exaggerating.
Not that fast.
But I'm sure it's a lot easier than it was then.
Sure, I'm sure the process is simpler and more expedient.
And it still looks great.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, that's
the CG
thing I hate
in this
the most.
Really looks good, especially for being 16 years old.
Correct.
It really holds up right
I hate that
now.
shit so much. Anyway. But you liked it? You were cool with the theme?
Yeah, I really liked the theme.
I hated real quick in, there's this, like you said, you love the scene where Peter Parker has that scene with Aunt May, right? And he's, he basically confesses to shit. And then later on, when he goes to see her again, she gives him that long-winded speech of like putting your dreams aside and being a hero and all this stuff. And it's a great scene, but I watched it and I was like, that's a really convoluted and long way just to say with great power comes great responsibility.
It's the way of Aunt May. I love that scene too, like you were saying, when he confesses to her and she just gets up and walks away.
Yeah.
Because right there, you're just in utter heartbreak for both of them.
Well, my problem, I love that, but my problem with the next one is that she says that she gets her message across, and then she has a second half where she keeps going. Like, just stop. We're good. You said it. With great power comes great responsibility. And then she keeps going. I'm like, no, we're good.
Is it the third movie that she tells him that she knew he was Spider-Man?
No, she never tells him. They never get to that part. But like it's kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge in this, where you're like, okay, she knows.
Like you could tell when she was giving him that pep talk.
Right, like she knows that he's Spider-Man, but they never actually say it. She doesn't.
Like he ran away from her in the bank, and then Spider-Man shows up and saves her ass.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
She knows.
They don't give her the moment to be like, okay, dude, like I know.
Okay. One thing is going off of like the whole, I know, like when Mary Jane found out, she's like, I think I always knew. Bitch, no, you didn't. That's
okay. I'm glad we're doing this now and then we'll fucking write this up. But as far as like her and her hoe shit in this movie, it's like because she made out with Spider-Man in the first one.
Yeah, and then she
kisses Peter at the end of the first one, and she has that moment of like, I think I know who this is. And so they're in that cafe, and she's like, okay, we need to kiss so I can find out if you're Spider-Man. Yeah. It's like, no, you don't!
Before that, she even
You're married!
Before that, when she was engaged, she's like, lay back. And then she does the over the head, making out with her fiance, and then she stops and just puzzled. I'm like, yeah, it ain't Spider-Man, bitch.
That's a plot point in the third one, too, that I'm excited to get to, because it's fucking stupid.
It's so stupid.
But yeah, so there's just some shit in here that, as plot points don't go anywhere. That's one of them, too.
I agree.
But yeah, the theme of this movie is, I fucking love it because, like you said, and it's that whole story of Peter having to come to grips with the fact that not everything's going to go his way. But he still needs to be Spider-Man. And he has that, it's juxtaposed with Ock, who is doing that, is putting himself aside to better the world until it goes south. So then they have that moment where Peter tells Ock, you have to put your own shit aside to do great things. And then they both realize that by the end of the movie that, yeah, okay, we are great men that can do great things, and we have to put everybody else above ourselves. And that's why Ock dies, and Spider-Man goes back to being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic.
It's great. I love the themes of this one for sure. So.
Well, that's why this one is not only the best Spider-Man movie, but it is also the best superhero movie. Fuck you.
He's really into Spider-Man, guys. I don't know if you can tell.
No. I will argue if we get to other superhero movies, particularly other superhero movies that are considered the best, and I will tell you why they are in fact great, but not as great as this one.
Guys, he loves Spider-Man.
I mean, yeah, but look at this shit. This ain't even fucking. This is the tip of the iceberg.
I know. It's not even close to your full collection. Trust me, I know.
So what do you score in this movie?
Probably an 8.
What did you give the first one?
The first one I gave, what was it? I think it's 7.
I think you might have given it an 8.
It might have been an 8.
Yeah.
I only gave it, this is really hard. So I was trying to think of this, I'm like,
We should have watched your fucking earlier episode first.
certain things I want to lean and give it to an 8, but I'm like right at like the 8.5, 9 region probably for this one.
Okay. Is this better than the first one?
Yes.
Okay. That's mostly what I was trying to figure out for you. Is if you thought this one was better than the first one.
What about you? What's your score?
This is fucking way better than the first one. This is a 10. this is a fucking 10.
It's because you're in love with Spider-Man.
Let me tell you.
You would make out with Spider-Man.
Like Spider-Man or Toby Maguire?
No, Spider-Man.
Shit. Oh, hell yeah. No, seriously though, this is a 10 for me. Fanboyness aside.
The fanboyness puts it up to a 10.
No, the fanboyness puts it up to like a 50. Alright? But this is a really, really well-made film.
Yeah.
It obviously has some things that especially by today's standards, are fucking cheesy. Like we said, the fence scene. And
that's probably the only reason why I can't get to a 10 is because there's certain little points that, like, the CG for other people and besides just Spider-Man.
Fair enough.
Like flappy ragdolls.
That's fair enough.
But
for me, that is why I will give it a 10, because it is a product of its time.
Sure.
Right? And I can't hold that against the fact that it was made then as opposed to now. And every fucking movie, even somebody that comes up to you and goes, this movie's a 10, watch it. You can watch it and be like, well, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, right?
That's fair.
That's always going to be a thing. It's always subjective. But it's still a 10.
Sure. Well,
that's it for me, man. That's it.
Same. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, all 20 people that watch this. This has been so much fun for me. I'm excited to keep going because now it's just going to go downhill from here. Seriously, thanks for watching. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Helps us out. If you see this on Facebook and you like everything on Facebook, that's awesome, but we need it to translate to YouTube, please.
Please.
You can follow us on the Instagrams and Twitter. I am at LukeW306. You are at?
I am at Morgan H. Films. Also, you can follow the podcast itself on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Podcast Wanna or Wannabes Podcast.
Nice plug. Thank you. I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's it for us. We will see you next time.